US's plan, NATO hits another roadblock. Biden's decision on Ukraine in question by Ukraine expert. The real reason why Nuland is opposing NATO training for Kyiv. The former US diplomat Victoria Nuland has argued that officially sending Western instructors into Ukraine will create unnecessary risk despite the severe troop shortages Kyiv faces. Nuland, who has been responsible for Ukraine during her tenure as the State Department and has served as the US ambassador to NATO, emphasized that NATO already provides substantial training to Ukrainian forces on the territories of member states, including the UK, Germany, and Poland. However, now, according to a report by the New York Times, Ukraine is allegedly asking US and NATO to help in training of 150,000 new recruits within Ukraine to expedite their deployment to the front line. And so, in an interview, Nuland acknowledged that Russia's renewed offensive is making it difficult for Ukrainian troops to leave the front line for training abroad. However, she cautioned that sending Western instructors into Ukraine highlights more potential risk. Nuland expressed concern that establishing NATO training bases inside Ukraine will make them target for Russian President Vladimir Putin. She warned that such a move will escalate the conflict and lead Putin to consider NATO territory as a fair game. It does directly implicate NATO on the ground, which could escalate the war into different direction, she added. Despite the severe troop shortage in Ukraine, the White House has consistently managed and pitched that it will not deploy any American troop or instructor into Ukraine. Nuland also argues that it remains more prudent to conduct most of the training outside Ukraine while providing advice within the country. This approach will minimize the risk of confrontation with Russia. While NATO has been training Ukrainian soldiers in member states, some European soldiers and officials have acknowledged the presence of military personnel in Ukraine since the war broke out in 2022. However, they have not clarified whether these personnel are involved in training local forces. On Monday, Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas claimed that military personnel from some NATO members are already training Ukrainian soldiers inside the country. She insisted that this will not lead to direct confrontation with Russia because the personnel are acting at their own risk. The issue of sending NATO troops to Ukraine was first raised by French President Emmanuel Macron in February, suggesting as an option that should not be ruled out. Estonia and Lithuania have since expressed their support for sending either instructor or support troops to relieve Ukrainian soldiers for combat duties. In early May, the Russian Defense Ministry estimated that Ukraine military losses have surpassed 111,000 for the year. And so, Kyiv now plans to mobilize hundreds of thousands of additional troops under a new law aimed at reducing the draft avoidance. Over the past 6 weeks, Ukrainian forces have gained more territory than Ukraine managed to capture in 6 months of its previous counteroffensive, according to the Washington Post.
Subscribe to Oneindia channel and never miss an update.